Hello, welcome to Workplace Wake Up. I'm Jen Shaw. Every week, I spend about 15 minutes covering key legal developments, introducing you to interesting guests, and providing some entertainment to start your workday. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I have a tough topic to discuss with you today, and I call them reluctant employees. I've had a lot of calls from clients lately who have employees who are calling it in. I mean, we used to call it quietly quitting. I'm not sure if that's still a hot, cool social media term or not. But these folks who just barely do what you need them to do. And you're tempted to let it go because you think, oh, it's so hard to find anybody else. This may be the best I can get right now. I really want to discourage that approach for a couple of reasons. First of all, your other employees deserve better. If you have an employee who's just calling it in, that means they're not doing their best work. And that means somebody else is probably having to pick up the pieces for them. That's not fair. It creates negative morale, and it's hard to retain good employees when they feel taken advantage of. So the first reason you shouldn't let this go is because you're going to lose good people. You might not lose the person you want to lose. You might lose somebody who's a really strong employee. The second problem is when you don't address performance issues, you are tacitly saying that what they're doing is okay. So then if you decide down the road that, oh gosh, I need to take some action, you haven't done anything. You haven't created a trail. You haven't created documentation. You haven't created a situation where the employee understands what the expectations are. And then if you take action at that point, it looks like you were just motivated by emotion, by feeling, by a lack of strategic planning, right? So you don't want those people who are reluctant employees. I've had reluctant clients before. Clients who will get on the phone and say, okay, I'm calling you because they made me call you. And why don't you just tell me what you want me to tell you, and then I'm going to hang up. And I say to those people, I don't think you like me. I don't think you want me to be your lawyer. And if you don't want me to be your lawyer, I don't want to be your lawyer, because we have to have a cooperative relationship. You have to like me as a person. You don't have to want to be my best friend. And I realize you're not going to call me just to chit chat. You're going to call me because you need me. But if you have to hold your nose on the phone when you're talking to me, you got to find a new lawyer. Like, that doesn't make sense. So reluctant clients, I don't want them. I always tell them, you know what? I'm going to do you a big favor. Go find another lawyer. Go find somebody who you like more. Or go call the one who you like instead of the one they made you call. Right? Reluctant employees are the same thing. They can bring down an entire group of high-performing employees by just being who they are. The Eeyores of the workplace, right? Okay, I guess I could do that. What do I have to do now? You don't need those people. I know it's hard to find people, but I just read a huge headline. We've had more layoffs in the first part of this year than we've had in years. People are looking for jobs. There's a lot of restructuring. There's a lot of change going on. So you know what? Let's find some better people. And when I tell clients this, I think they understand it on an intellectual sort of academic level. But all they can think of is, oh, Jen, it's so much work. I know it is. We just recruited a lawyer who was great. I interviewed him. Ronnie, our director of firm administration, interviewed him. We loved him. We set up all these interviews with the staff and the lawyers. One of the lawyers comes from out of town to come be in the office to interview him. We all loved him. We're ready to make him an offer. And he says, well, for personal reasons, I just am not ready to leave my current position. And I thought, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I've spent 10 hours on this. Not to mention all of our folks in our firm. Collectively, how much time have we spent? But you know what? If you don't try, you're never going to find the right person. So we said, okay, well, we'll just keep looking for somebody else, right? It's just not the right fit For whatever reason, that person wasn't ready to come here. And we asked, is there anything that we could have done differently? Is there anything you were concerned about that you'd like to let us know? He said, no, I had a great interview. I liked everybody. I'm just not ready to move. Okay, that's good. That's fair. So I'm not saying it's easy to get rid of somebody. It's not easy to replace them, but you got to follow your gut, okay? We had a situation recently where we had a new employee and things weren't really going well. And we decided, okay, we've got to make a change. And it turned out things were going way worse than we thought. Like the little feelings that Ronnie and I had about how this person may not be doing a good job were literally the tip of the iceberg. So you got to follow your gut. You got to follow your instincts on this stuff. And if you think somebody's ready to go, they're probably ready to go. And remember, if your employees are at-will employees, which certainly in the private sector is generally what we see, at-will employees, if you see that and you are really, I think, debating or worried about what steps you can take, just know at will means you can get rid of someone for any reason, with or without notice, with or without cause, as long as it's not an illegal reason. So do you need some documentation? Sure, that's a good idea to back up what you're doing. But don't let them sit there and behave in this way and bring the rest of your team down. Get rid of them. Let the door hit them on the way out. You thought you could do the job. I thought you could do the job. We were both wrong and we need to move on. Like that's essentially the gist of this. Now, why do I think this is such a big deal currently? Because I think a lot of us are afraid of being sued. There is so much going on out there. Just put aside the federal level for a minute of all these executive orders and what President Trump is doing and the firings and Elon Musk and all of that. Just put that aside and just look at the stock market. Just look at the businesses that are closing. Look at the constant discussion of either recession or stagflation that is coming. I don't know if any of that is happening. I was an econ major in college, but I'm hardly somebody who can predict these trends, right? But what I do know is people are talking about it and people are worried. And when we get in this type of an environment, we tend to not want to take action. We tend to become a little paralyzed and really think about, okay, how can I just do what I need to do? How can I just maintain without having a problem where I'm creating additional risk for myself? So I get the desire to not create waves and to not have problems. But I think what we forget with reluctant employees is they are by their very nature a problem. They are definitely negatively impacting your organization when they are moping around and doing the minimum and complaining and not being supportive of the mission. Okay? It's just how it is. Now, do I think you can turn it around? Yeah, I've turned it around. I've seen people in our organization who were having a moment of that and they turn it around. We have a conversation and they come back and they're on target. They're doing great. They have a different attitude. They're happy to be here. I get it. I think you can turn things around. But a lot of times people don't realize that's where they are unless you point it out to them. So if you overlook it and then you decide, okay, all of a sudden I just want to be done, like I can't do this anymore, then it comes out of left field. And people don't really know what to think. They don't know what to expect. And they're uncomfortable with that, right? They're in a situation where they don't really understand, well, gosh, nobody told me I wasn't doing a good job. So why is this happening? And that is where the legal problems come in, because people say, okay, well, you know what? I didn't have any notice of this. Nobody bothered to tell me I was doing something I shouldn't be doing. Now, all of a sudden, they want to get rid of me. They want to throw the book at me. There must be some nefarious reason for this. And that's how you get the demand letters, and that's how you get the lawsuits. And I got to tell you, personally, as the owner of a small business, I don't want anyone here who doesn't want to be here. I love our team. I love our staff. We have great people. We have great lawyers. We have great assistants. We have great vendors. We got a bunch of great people. But if they suddenly decide they don't want to be here, I will help them find a new home. I've done that so many times because it pulls everybody else down. So don't let that happen in your organization. Have regular communications with your folks. Figure out if there's something bugging them, figure it out. I know how it goes. Every attorney meeting, I say to our attorneys, anything you guys want to talk about, it's crickets. They never have anything about the operations of the firm or anything about something I might be doing wrong or something they don't like. I wish they would. Because I can't fix something if I don't know that it's a problem. But I guess my sort of go-to is I just try to look at the world as being a glass half full and not half empty. So I kind of assume, well, if I've asked you to give me feedback and you don't give me feedback, I'm just going to assume everything's okay, because I can't assume everything's bad because then I don't know how to fix it. And all of this swirls when you have a reluctant employee. Now, are we all going to be reluctant at times? Oh gosh, you bet. I ended up having some unexpected surgery about a month ago, and it just came out of nowhere. Right middle of the day, I was like, ooh, I think I better go to the emergency room. And I'm fine. Everything's fine. But I didn't plan on that, right? And there were all these hundreds of emails and phone calls and meetings we had to reschedule and a training we had to move. And it felt overwhelming. And for a minute, I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be great to just be retired right now? Like, all I would have to worry about is my family, right? Because I wouldn't have to be worried about anybody at work. But the problem is I love my job. I don't want to retire. As many of you know, I have a 15-year-old, right? I'm not going anywhere soon. So I just had that moment of being a reluctant employee. That happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us, in fact. But if you have someone who is consistently being the negative Nelly, right? And not wanting to be part of the team and having negative reactions to ideas and not giving better ideas themselves or being willing to sort of partner and collaborate. If you have that kind of a situation, just sit down and say to the employee, do you still want to be here? If you don't, I'll help you find a way out. If you do, we got to make some changes, and let's sit down together and let's figure out how to do that. Because I want you here as long as you want to be here, but you've got to show me that's what you want, because otherwise I'm pushing a boulder uphill, and there's nothing worse than trying to figure out how to do that. So that is a very tough place to be as a leader in an organization, trying to read people's minds and trying to figure out what would make them happy and what makes them tick. You don't want to be going through that, okay? You ask for the feedback, you give the feedback, you do what's right. And if you've still got an employee who's reluctant, you strongly encourage them to find their own way out. And if they don't do it themselves, you do it for them. Everybody in your organization will thank you. It will improve your bottom line. It will improve your culture. It will improve your own personal satisfaction with your job, because you will realize how much that person was pulling the rest of you down. It's like a big, heavy, wet blanket that we want to get rid of. So think about it. Do you have any reluctant employees? If you do, take them to lunch, talk to them, see what's going on. Is it a personal thing? Is it a work thing? How can you turn their frown upside down? All right? It's worth it, you guys. We spend a lot of time at work. We spend a lot of time with these folks. We've got to make it as good as we can possibly make it. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. I love that you share this time with me on Wednesdays. And let me know if you've got any feedback or input or ideas. I'm always open ears. Everyone, thanks so much. Go out and do something nice for someone today, and I'll see you next week. Workplace Wake Up, including our guests and hosts, do not provide legal advice in this podcast. Do not act upon any of the information discussed in this podcast without first consulting a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to spread the word, please share it with others. Post about it on social media and/or rate and review it. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and email us at info@shawlawgroup.com.